Hello SLAPAFISH community, and welcome back to another World of Tanks console video. So in this video, I'm going to give you 10 tips on the Bulwark. So let's jump right into it. So for your crew, I recommend 6 perks that you should get very first. Mentor to train crews and perks faster. Brothers in Arms to improve everything about your tank. Sixth Sense to let you know exactly when you're spotted. Repairs or track mechanic for your track because you're always going to get tracked in heavy tanks. Controlled Impact because you're going to get rammed or you want to ram somebody and you want to take less health because your health is the most important about when you're in a heavy tank. Firefighting or the fire extinguisher to put out those fires. Why do you need that, you may ask? Well, because of tip number 9. So, the 3 consumables that you should put on your Bulwark is one, the nation's consumable, because this is a mercenary tank. It doesn't really matter which nation's consumable you put on. I'm putting small first aid kit and the small repair kits for the tank. Don't really need the big ones. It's also a mercenary tank, so you don't want to spend that much money on it. Unless you want to, doesn't really matter. But anyway, on to number 8. So, equipment that you should be using is a gunling drive because your aiming time is 1.9. Crew ventilations because that will also improve everything to get your reload down quicker. And also coated optics because you have 330 base spotting range because you want to be able to spot for yourself. For your ammo, you should bring at least 60 rounds of premium because you have a tier 4 gun on this, which is the Matilda gun, and the rest is standard because you can't put high explosive on it. You need at least 60 rounds of premium to pin tanks that are like tier 7 because you will meet tier 7s in this tank. When you are top tier, and yes, you will be top tier in this tank, use your armor and your gun to your best ability. You have all around 75 armor on the chassis, 75 at the front, side, and back. You got 110 at the front of the turret, but the turret is flat. Most people will aim at your turret because that's the weak point. Chassis frontal armor is really nice. You can't really side scrape or angle this tank because your side armor is not like a Russian tank. It is a Russian chassis, but it's not like a regular Russian tank where most of the tracks will cover a space armor. You can't angle in this tank. So always face the enemies and use your armor at max. When you see tier 5 shooting premium, back away because your armor is not going to hold up, especially when they aim at your turret. So when you are bottom tier in this tank, you need to play like a medium/heavy role because your armor is not effective enough. Like with most heavy tanks, when they go 2 tiers down, their armor is useless. Even with the Bulwark especially, because your armor is still useless, and this is why you have the 60 rounds of premium, so you can deal with tier 7 heavies. Some tiers, like a lot of tier 7 heavies, your premium rounds can go through. The KV3, the IS, the T-29's chassis, the ONE side. You can definitely go to the ONE side. And since you're low enough to get to the ONE side, and he can't depress the gun low enough, you can get to him. So the Bulwark is like a tank that get in, deal all the damage while you're tier 7 heavies are reloading. Just hide behind your tier 7s because you're small enough to do that. And just keep your gun firing. Your gun is your most valuable ally. Now keep it firing. So the Bulwark's turret has 100 millimeters at the front, 75 at the sides, and 60 at the rear. Tanks will be able to pin your turret before they'll pin the front of your hull, because your hull is angled and your turret's just flat. The most effective way of using your turret armor is to barely angle it. If that doesn't work and they still can pin through your turret, then back away because there's nothing else you can do. So your frontal armor has 75 at the front, 75 at the side, and 75 at the rear. So also you have a T-43 chassis. The T-43 is a tier 7 Russian medium tank that does not really bounce a lot of shots, even at its tier. And even at tier 5 it can bounce some shots. So putting on a tier 5 heavy doesn't really change the factor. So the best way to using the Bulwark's armor, the chassis armor, is when people are shooting at your chassis is to wiggle it back and forth. Just keep wiggling it because you can't really you can't side scrape or angle it because your side armor will get exposed and your side armor doesn't have the tracks to absorb the shots. So just keep wiggling back and forth and that should bounce the shots. If that doesn't work, back away because there's nothing else you can do. So when you do find yourself on a one-on-one match, use your gun and your armor to efficiency because the Bulwark has one of the fastest firing guns in the game. It also has a really good DPM at tier 5. At base, it has 1,940 DPM, which is pretty dang good. Some tier 10s don't have that. So when you get on your one-on-one matches, you need to click on auto aim and focus on your armor. Switching your armor back and forth, back and forth. If your rounds are not penetrating when you're locking on, just switch to premium and just focus on your armor. Your armor and your firepower of your tank will carry you throughout one-on-one matches because that's what Bulwark excels at. So the Bulwark is really good on one-on-one matches, as I said before. Also, the Bulwark is really good at damage, just raw damage. Like I said before, 1,940 DPM at tier 5, even tier 10s can't beat you out. You can kill a tank before a tier 10 can. That's pretty impressive. That's base. Also, the Bulwark has I think the fastest firing gun at 1.49 seconds. What other gun fires that quick? The Matilda Black Prince used to be the fastest firing tank in the game. Then the Bulwark came out and stole the title. Also, even if you miss shots in this tank, it doesn't really matter because you have 160 ammo. You don't run out of ammo in this tank. Also, when you miss your shots, it doesn't really matter because your aim time and your reload time is just faster than everybody else's. So, the Bulwark is really nice. So, if this is your cup of tea, don't forget to pick up one. If you like what I'm doing, guys, like my 10 tips on a tank, and you want me to do another tank of your choice, do 10 tips on a tank, another tank that you want me to do, leave it in the comment sections below. And if anything you want me to change from these things, tell me in the comment sections below. And don't forget to slap a fish, and I'll see y'all on Friday. And peace out. See ya.